Welcome to the Wedding Vendors Happy Hour, where we dive into the world of wedding entrepreneurs. Learn how they got started, what advice they have for you, and everything in between. So grab a drink and take a seat as we interview amazing vendors with your hosts, Derek and Jade. Wedding Vendors Happy Hour. It's a podcast, but it's also happy hour.
Welcome back to another amazing episode here on the Wedding Vendors Happy Hour. Again, my name is Derek with Derek Preciado Photography.
My name is Jade with Jade Preciado Events. Today we chat with Alejandra from Always a Bride Events, a wedding content creation team with extensive experience in both social media and wedding industries who capture behind the scenes candid content on wedding days.
That's right. This is going to be one amazing episode that you're not going to want to miss. So grab a drink, take a seat, and let's get to it.
Wedding Vendors Happy Hour.
Hey, what's going on, Alejandra? Thank you so much for taking the time to be a part of our podcast. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here. Excited to chat with you guys.
Heck yeah, we're super pumped, right, baby?
Yes. So excited to learn all about content creation and all the nitty gritty details that, you have to share with us. So before we really dive into it all, can you tell our listeners first who you are, what you do, and how long you've been doing it?
Yeah. So I am Alejandra. I have officially been in business for a year with my wedding content creation business. I just celebrated a year. And I lead a wedding content creation team.
Amazing.
Super cool. So yeah, okay. I like how you mentioned that you've been doing wedding content creation for a year. So what else did you do before this? I know there's something else. I'll let you say it.
Yeah. So I have been working professionally for 15 years. I was most recently at Meta and I was working on global events and recruiting, did a little bit of everything in kind of like the onboarding employee experience space. But I was part of the November 2022 layoffs. I went viral on social media for getting laid off, ended up all over the news. It was a good time.
So crazy. That's so gnarly.
What a journey.
Yeah. So all right, let's get into it. Alejandra, can you let us know what is a wedding day content creator?
Yeah. So we take vertical iPhone content on our phones and it's optimized for social media, but that's not the sole purpose or intention behind what we do. We create short form video content from the content that we do capture. And we also tend to gravitate more towards a behind the scenes documentary style way of shooting.
So interesting. And it's such like a unique, like kind of newer category of vendors. So we excited just to reveal all of that who don't know about it.
Yeah.
I'm curious, can you share a little bit more about how you first got started as a wedding day content creator? Like what drew you to this unique niche?
Absolutely. So I started sharing my wedding planning journey. I eloped in 2021. Had a wedding in 2022. And because I've been an event planner for 15 years, there was a lot of bad advice out there on wedding TikTok. And so I started sharing tips, advice, and started creating content around weddings. And then I started creating lifestyle content on a separate page on TikTok and Instagram. And I just started creating content and learned all the ins and outs every day as I was creating content on these both platforms and channels. And then wedding content creation started picking up. So it really started in kind of 2022, started gaining traction last year. And this year it's just booming. So after my layoff, I said, well, no better time than now to start a business. I've got all the free time in the world.
That's so cool. Yeah. So my biggest thing is, that's awesome, the wedding content creation, but I want to know, and I'm pretty sure everyone wants to know, like, who is booking wedding content creators? Is it like what kind of couple is booking? Is it like the techie and trendy couple?
Influencers?
Is it like a mom and papa?
Yeah, that's the question of the hour. Everybody thinks and assumes that only influencers are booking wedding content creators, and that's a very large misconception. A lot of our couples don't even post our content on social media. We have worked with influencers, and if you think about large scale weddings for celebrities, influencers over the last 10 years, especially with social media being so prominent in our society. Wedding content has been around for quite some time. We just haven't named it, right? Sure. Because there always has been a social media component on our phones around weddings. Mm-hmm. But now there's an actual person tied to that niche in the wedding industry. And so I think people need to realize that we have been around. It may not just have been as formal as it now is.
That's such, wow. I never thought of it that way. That is so true. You guys, like, the idea of a content creator has, like you mentioned, has always been around. So now that I think about it, this is huge. I know you've already heard of it. Like, I do photo and video myself. So when they were like, oh, who's this content creator coming in here and they're trying to
yeah.
I think I would rather prefer the content creator than having all the guests or bridesmaids all having their phones out,
yes.
and
yes,
getting
100%.
Stuff. Yeah.
And that's the nice thing is that part of the reason people like booking wedding content creators is because they have the peace of mind that moms typically are the ones that always have their phones out and are never behind the camera. They're always out like, oh, I need to get this shot. And they're always posting on Facebook, right? Yeah. But now with wedding content creators, your guests, your family do not need to have their phones out whatsoever. And one of the reasons why I like wedding content creation so much is that our content is so easily shareable with your family and friends. I deliver all my content via Dropbox. I send them a link with all the content. And I tell them, if you want to share with your family and friends, go for it. And I love getting tagged by their, family, friends, their besties posting about the wedding. I love getting tagged after the wedding.
Dang, I'm a little envious of you guys, the content creators, because you guys get the ultimate referral. Everyone wants the social media, the social media post. That's
the funny thing is that I had a bride last August who her bridesmaids, 3 of them are getting married this year. I'm shooting 2 of their weddings over the next 2 weeks, and one of them turned out to be my associate now.
Oh, wow. Dang, you're reeling them in.
Yeah. So really the ultimate referral right there.
Oh,
big time.
Thinking about you mentioned you create all of the content on your iPhone or cell phone, whatever it is. What do you find the pros and cons are of using your cell phone as your primary tool to create this content?
One, I would say pros are definitely easy turnaround time because we don't edit any of our content in the sense of we're not going into Lightroom and adjusting settings or anything like that. Yeah. We're delivering all unedited content. So it's a really quick turnaround, which is a huge perk and a lot of why couples book us. Mm-hmm. They want that instant gratification. They don't want to wait months or weeks to start sharing about their wedding, because if you think about it, your professional photos, which are obviously so cherished, those are going to go on your wall, in your, coffee table book. But you want to be able to relive your wedding day almost immediately. Mm-hmm. Right? And you can't do that, unfortunately, right now. So that solves the problem. So that's definitely a huge pro in the sense that we can share it out easily, and we don't have to edit it. I would say the drawback is obviously it's not professional grade quality like camera, like a video camera, photographer's camera. The quality for phones right now is still really great, really crisp. I mean, if you think about all the social media content you see on Instagram, especially with some of these really great videos that are shot on iPhone, they're still good quality. But obviously they're not as crisp as a professional videographer or photographer.
That is, yeah.
So, and I might be naive in this whole content creator era, but is it both photo and video that you take?
Yeah. So one of my questions in my questionnaire that I send out to my couples before we do our hour-long content call before their wedding is, do you want a mixture of photo and video? So they'll tell me their preference of, I want 80% video, 20% photo. So what I try to do is I try to sprinkle in a mixture, because sometimes you want like a picture of you and your best friend, right away, right? Like you want you and your bridesmaids laughing or whatever. So I'll throw in pictures like that so that they can have some form of photo before they get their professional photos. We obviously don't target like us taking pictures. That's not our primary reason. Our primary intention is to capture video content.
That was a great question, Jade. I like that. It's
a great answer.
Yeah, that was a great answer. So, I, a little tech geek myself. I want to know what is in your gear bag. So, like, what are your favorite tools? What are your apps that you're using? Gadgets? Anything that makes your content amazing?
Yeah. And I think one of the misconceptions that people have is that anybody can go shoot content on their phone, just like show up to a wedding. I was actually talking to someone the other day, and they were like, oh yeah, I can just have so-and-so come and capture content for me. And it's not that easy if you think about it. If you look at social media, like actual content creators on social media, you can tell who has it and who doesn't, like who understands how to actually capture and edit content in an aesthetic way that is going to draw people in and engage with your content. And not everybody can do that. And so it's not just showing up to shoot stuff on your phone, right? We do come with gear. We do have skills and knowledge and experience. So some of my favorite items that I use, which I'm actually using right now, is my light. Nice. So that ensures good lighting, crisp quality. I also use a gimbal, mainly for ceremony. Anytime I'm like walking backwards or taking really close up detail shots of like the tablescape, things like that, where I want like a really smooth movement, I'll do my gimbal. And then I have battery packs galore because our phones die. So I want to make sure that I can charge my phones and all my equipment. And then I also have a backup phone. I have mini microphones, and I would say those are like the main things that I use on a wedding day.
Dang. Yeah, I didn't realize that. So can the gimbal hold your phone and a battery pack, or do you like swap phones out on the gimbal while you're charging the other one?
So I charge when I don't need my gimbal. So I basically like bucket my day, and I'm like, okay, if I'm going to use my gimbal during ceremony time, I need to make sure that I start charging about an hour before ceremony, so that by ceremony time, I don't need to use my battery pack and I can just shoot as normal.
That's so interesting.
All of these things I wouldn't have even thought about, but that's why they hire you to think about them.
Yes.
So, as far as like the overall experience for couples on wedding day, like what role do you think social media plays in like shaping their wedding day experience?
Yeah, I think this is also a somewhat controversial topic, because a lot of people have an opinion that social media is destroying the wedding industry because of like what is shown on social media and these extravagant, lavish weddings. And I think we just need to be a little more accountable of what we consume. On social media. And so I don't think there have been people that say like wedding content creators are ruining the wedding industry because we're posting all this content from these lavish weddings. And we're just like setting unrealistic expectations for couples, essentially. But I don't necessarily agree with that. And I think, again, we should just be accountable for what we consume and who we're following and what we engage with. But kind of what we talked about at the beginning, like wedding content creators aren't intended, like our sole purpose is not social media. That's how we market our services, and our couples will sometimes post on social media, but majority of my couples do not hire us for social media. And I think that goes back to the question of like, who's hiring us?
Yeah.
Right.
And a lot of the conversations that I have with my couples when they get on the call with me, because I always do video calls with every single couple when they inquire, and they typically give me two reasons of why they're hiring us. Obviously, they want some video footage of their wedding day, but they're either a traditional videographer is not their style, nor will it ever be their style. And I think you'll find a lot of couples are kind of moving away from tradition right now in the industry, and they're more making choices based around what's more personal to them and fits kind of their style and their vibe. Mm-hmm. And then the second reason is because a traditional videographer is not in their budget. So we're not necessarily like taking clients away from traditional videographers. It's more so giving an option to those two groups of people that weren't going to go in that direction anyway. Mm-hmm. But we also do have about 40% of our couples who have a full media team, who have a photographer, videographer, and a content creator. Mm-hmm. And it's really because they just want the candid behind the scenes moments of their wedding days, and they want to be able to have it easily accessible on their phones.
Wow, that was a great answer. So yeah, I like that you mentioned that, you guys aren't taken away from videographers, because I feel like you guys are in competition with the videographer. That's where I hear it a lot. So
I know that's a huge misconception as well.
And I like that you mentioned that, you're not taking the couple away, because in reality, if the couple can't even afford or wants to book that videographer, then they're not really missing anything. They want a couple that could book them and say, hey, we're going to get a content creator too. So there's not really something to get mad about.
And and the unfortunate thing is that couples before who didn't resonate with a traditional video from a videographer never had an option before. Mm-hmm. And so they just didn't get any video footage of their wedding day. So my husband and I, we didn't want a videographer because it just didn't resonate with us. We knew we were never going to watch this. It didn't feel right for us. Mm-hmm. And we got no video footage of our day because there was no option at the time when we got married. Yeah. And I just enlisted one of my bridesmaids. I had 14 bridesmaids, and I said, hey, can you take some iPhone footage for me? So I have small little clips that are shaky and all over the place. And that's essentially all the video footage I have my wedding day.
This is so great. This is why we love talking about this topic. I like how you mentioned that there was never an option before for couples that didn't want videography. That's huge. That's a huge thing just to take in. And I like that. Yeah.
And now we have someone to hold a phone professionally and just step that up. So no more bridesmaids having to do it.
Exactly.
Amazing.
So you kind of went into this a little bit about glamorizing weddings, but I want to dig into a little deeper. So social media can persist an idolized version of weddings, like you mentioned a little bit before. But do you feel any sense of responsibility to educate your audience about the behind the scenes realities, maybe some challenges or experiences?
Yeah, I do a lot of talking videos on my TikTok. So I give a lot of tips and advice because, again, what I mentioned at the beginning, there's a lot of bad advice on wedding TikTok. Yeah. A lot of people that are giving advice that have never planned a wedding before, and they're just kind of throwing it out there with a lot of misinformation, or they've only planned their own wedding and they're sharing tips. And so they are just sharing what they know. And so I do a lot of more talking educational style videos on my TikTok because that works better on that platform. Yeah. And I do try to educate and make sure people understand the logistics and all the components of a wedding, and that it's not all glitz and glamour. There's a lot of little pieces that still have to work on the back end.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like that.
And also, I'm curious, you kind of shared bits and pieces about your process with the couple, the video calls and everything. And especially from a wedding planner's background, do you take that extra step to just get to know them ahead of time and make sure that's reflected on wedding day? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things I try to really share with our couples is that we do try to understand their style and vibe for their wedding day so that we're capturing it in a way that resonates with them. Every couple's different. Some couples are we want to rager all day. We're going to be drinking at the start of the day all night. We want party vibes all weekend. Yeah. Other couples are a little bit more reserved and timid. And so we really try to individualize our approach to how we capture and edit, because if you're wanting like a party vibe, we're going to do like quick edits, really fun, like have like lots of like cheering and movement in your video. If you're a little bit more reserved and you just want sweet and romantic, we'll probably be more of like a fly on the wall and capturing like little details and little moments. So I do try to make sure that we understand who they are as a couple. And also, like, if they need to be prompted, maybe because they are a little bit camera shy, then we know that going into the day so that we can still create some like good content for them.
That is so cool. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's interesting. Very interesting.
And it goes into like that, what we were talking about earlier, like not everybody can just step in and hold a camera. Like there's a lot more that goes into it, a lot of planning and understanding the couple that elevates the end experience.
Yes. And that's why I try to reach out around like 2 months before the wedding, send out the questionnaire. They answer all the questions in there, ask them all their preferences, what kind of style vibe they're having, preferences around their content, shot list, music, clips, all of that goes into the questionnaire. And then we meet with them for an hour, typically at least a month beforehand, depending on schedules, because from a planner's perspective, I know also that timelines need to be firmed up a couple weeks before the wedding. So content creators who do schedule their calls like 1 to 2 weeks before the wedding, you can't adjust the timeline at that point. So that's why I make sure I try to give enough wiggle room. Because if they're like, I want to film like 10 transitions, I'm like, well, there's literally no time in your timeline to do that.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's a great point. I remember one minor complaint that I remember from a past wedding that had like a social influencer style bride. The hair and makeup artist was like, they're constantly pulling the bride away to do these TikToks. Like, and to talk through that with them ahead of time and like a lot for the time needed for the shots they might want.
Yes. And I always try to, typically, the planner is always in contact with us before the wedding because they're sending timeline, floor plan, or they're asking for like our insurance. So I have good communication with the planner. And then I do try to reach out to the photo video team before the wedding day to introduce our team. And, you know, some photographers and videographers like to meet us beforehand. So I'll jump on a quick call with them. Some just want to do async and like chat via via email. But I leave it up to them to decide like what they're comfortable with and how they want to kind of like work with us. But I like to make sure that we have at least introduced ourselves to make sure we're working as one team going into the wedding day. It's a positive experience for everybody. No person is better or bigger or whatever than the other. We're there to just provide excellent service to the couple.
Amazing.
Yeah. The bride booked you all. So we're all
team
effort. We're there for the bride.
Exactly. But that's also why I coach my associates to like be assertive when you show up on wedding day, because it can be daunting when some photo video teams don't love that we're there. And so it's just asserting yourself. You are the expert. You are a paid vendor. You're there to provide a service and making sure that everyone knows that.
Right.
Exactly.
So I wanted to kind of go back more into like working with a videographer. You mentioned sometimes they don't have a videographer, sometimes they do. But can you kind of elaborate on the distinct roles that you have as a social media content creator versus what a videographer has?
Yeah. So the intention of a videographer is typically they're creating like a curated length, more like longer style video. Whereas we're creating short form video content, and ours is catered to more like behind the scenes documentary style, where I think traditional videographers are typically a little bit more posed, they're more directional, and so we'll shoot differently. It's two different forms of media content shot very differently because they're going to be curating some of the footage that's going into their video, whereas a lot of the times we're more just behind the scenes and not posing, not prompting, not curating.
Yeah. Can you go into that a little bit more? Because sometimes I hear a lot of content creators mention that they're behind the scenes, the BTS. But then when you look at their like reels, it's almost like it's what the videographer is showing too. Like when I think BTS, I'm thinking like you're showing the photographer and
oh no, I mean who wants their vendors and all their footage though? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if I'm the couple and all my vendors were in my footage, I'd be like, what? I'm the caterer in this video.
Just the video for the caterer.
Yeah.
Give examples of like the type of content that you would focus on versus like what the videographer's focusing on.
Yeah. So I think the video itself can be very similar because we're standing next to them. It's just a different format. Again, we're not cueing, we're not prompting, we're not curating. So I do a lot of like where the couples are walking and they're like touching like their fingertips together. Like I'll capture a lot of like those little details that maybe go unnoticed because it's in between the posed moments. So I try to focus on what is happening in between the posed moments and what's happening as they're engaging with other people when it's not a scheduled like photo. So where like the photo video team may be like walking, okay, we got to find like the next location of like where we're going to pose this group or do this. I'm kind of watching the couple and watching how they're engaging with people to capture those moments.
Okay, so say I have yet to work with a content creator. So you're hired with me and my video team, right? So we're doing a room video and it's sunset time and we're getting a couple out there. So we're doing our thing. How do you approach? How do you come in and say, "Oh, can I get some content or whatever?" Like how does that work with you?
Yeah, so typically I'm standing next to the photo video team and if there's anything that I need to get close up, I will probably do that on my own. So when they're just kind of standing there, I'll be like, oh, can I just get a close-up shot of your earrings or your necklace or your bouquet or something like that? Otherwise, I'm just capturing the moments as they're happening. And, you know, because when photographers are posing the couple, it happens very, very quick. Yeah. It's like pose shot. Okay, next pose shot, next pose shot. And so I'm not necessarily focused on those moments. I'm focused on what's happening naturally as the day progresses.
I like that. That's cool. And I get this sense that you're more like, you're not like just jumping in there and be like, oh, let me get this real quick. You're like, you're just like, you're getting the sneak attack shots, but then you're also getting beautiful shots, whatever they're doing as well. So
yeah,
nice to know.
And I do communicate that at the beginning of the day too. I'll let them know, like, I'm just here. If I need a specific shot, I'll jump in and communicate that with the rest of the team. If there's something that I need to get close up. Otherwise, like if there was like a TikTok transition, it would already be accounted for in the timeline. But otherwise, I do try to make sure I'm communicating. And especially when it comes to ceremony time, because there's so many people, you know, the media team's like moving around the ceremony space. I always make sure that we're standing next to or behind, never in front and never in the way. And I've coached my associates, like always be vigilant of like who is behind your shot. And if you're in the shot of the photo video team, make sure they're prioritized so that they're getting their shot because we come secondary to that.
Wow, that's so cool. I know you guys' work is truly amazing, but that's so cool that you let them know, like, hey, you know, don't get in their way. Like, don't get their stuff. Or we got problems over here.
Exactly.
That's cool. Okay, cool. So I love that. So it sounds like you're really great when you work with the vendor teams, like the photo and video. So can you give me some more like examples of some collaboration experiences that you've had with the videographer where you guys worked together and created a cohesive, beautiful work of the bride's wedding?
I've never specifically worked with like a videographer, like as a part of their team. Are you talking about, or
just like the wedding day, just like a random videographer guy? Like you guys were just like click in and you're like, oh, we could do this.
I mean, I feel like I work well with everybody.
Yeah. Sounds like it. Yeah.
I just kind of like, I feel like we are kind of like the calm behind the speedy, like, because photo video teams have to work very quickly because there's a timeline. You gotta like, there's certain shots that you gotta get, and I feel like we're just kind of like behind the scenes. We're there, and I let you do your thing, and I kind of capture what's going on around.
Yeah, I'm curious because I feel like the content creator isn't so much in competition with like the photographer, but so has a videographer ever walked up to you guys on the wedding day and said, "Hey, I know you guys are doing video too. Let me know if you guys have any ideas or whatever. We could like work together."
We definitely collaborate. Like I will build relationships with the photo video team, and they'll ask my opinion. Like, what do you think about this for the first look? What do you think about this backdrop? And I'll give them my opinion, and I'll say, actually, I think this backdrop would look better if they walk this way. What do you think about this shot? So if they're wanting to collaborate with me, I 100% have ideas. I can be creative. We can work as a team. But you just have to feel out like who you're working with and whether they're responsive to that, or if they have like kind of a set like schedule and like shot list in mind.
Dang. So you know what? Now that this just came to my brain. If I was working a wedding with you, I'd be like, yo, Alejandra, I know your shit is gonna go viral because you're gonna hit that social media. I'm gonna collab with you all kinds right now so we could get there. You guys have-
and that's the great thing too, is that I do offer vendor partnerships. Anytime I work a wedding with a photo video team or a planner, I will offer vendor partnerships. So if you want to partner with us, we will send you all the content from the wedding at no cost. And then I will invite you to collaborate on anything I post about the wedding. And then we just ask to be added to your preferred vendor list.
Oh, that's so cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Super.
So it's nice. And then if we know that going into a wedding, we'll capture some BTS of you as well.
Oh, wow. That's super nice enough. Dang, everyone should be your guys' friends. That's insane.
I know. I really do think people don't understand what a win it is to have a content creator, especially if you enter like a partnership with them and like you work weddings with them. I'm happy to capture BTS of other vendors if they build a relationship with me and they want to like work with me in future weddings. I am happy to do that. And literally give you free content of your work to post on social media, free marketing for you.
You know, this is so funny because it always used to be, and probably still is in ways, be photo and video button heads. They're always used to button. Now they're like teamed up and they're like, oh, who's this content creator? But you guys, with the content creator, it feels like now that we're talking to you, you have so much to offer. Yeah. And you're even taking away things that we all hated during weddings, like family holding phones and bridesmaids holding phones. And now you guys can even like you said, partner up with them and get your stuff on viral. You guys are more likely to get stuff viral than us if we were supposed to, you know? So you guys have the upper hand in that. So I don't see
everyone should have a content creator.
Yeah. I don't understand what the
understand it. You know, that's like the biggest part, I think, is some people don't understand it.
Yeah. I don't understand what the whole argument is right now about, like you mentioned, the creators kind of ruining it because I don't see it.
Yeah. I think a lot of people who have negative experiences are working with content creators who maybe aren't mature, have experience, don't understand how to work in a professional environment. But that can be said for any category in the wedding industry. There's unprofessional planners, there's unprofessional caterers, unprofessional photographers, like everybody, right? There's bad and good in each part of the wedding industry. And so I think the people that don't like content creators have typically worked with ones that are a little bit more new, inexperienced, very young, have never run a business before. And so that's where I hope to educate content creators more and make sure that we're not giving ourselves a bad rap.
Yeah, I love where you're going, Alejandra. Yeah, just keep like educating those future little content creators that want to get into your world and let them know like, hey, you know, don't be obtrusive. Like I've heard one story where a photographer was setting up a flat lay and then the content creator came in and just rearranged it. Like, so
interesting.
They were mad. They were like, what the heck? Like, so you don't do that, right? Like,
no, I let the photographer, because the photographers, unless it's a like ultra lavish wedding where the planner is designing the flat lay, typically the photographers are designing the flat lays. I let them do their thing, but if I find little details around the room that I like, I will curate my own flat lay.
Yeah, for sure.
And then if the photographer and videographer want to go take photo and video of that, I'm like, I don't care. We're all in this together. You know what I mean?
Love it.
Awesome.
We're getting all heated up in this conversation right now. This is insane.
Random question. So earlier in the day, you mentioned like the deliverables, like the Dropbox files, end of the night or something like that. Do you ever get brides that ask you to like edit it and make like a reel for them so it's like post ready?
Yeah, so we do deliver short form videos included with our packages.
Okay.
So each package includes a set of short form videos, one highlight reel, which is typically 1 to 2 minutes long. And then the other short form videos are typically around 20 to 30 seconds long, depending on what they're interested. Like if it's a trend and it's only like 7 seconds, then obviously that's the length of the video. Yeah. But yeah, so they're ready to post to social media if they choose to post on social media.
Yeah, so I want to get a little bit more into that. So are you like researching what's trending right now and then seeing what to edit to whatever's, trending on TikTok and Instagram?
Yeah. So I will say one of the skills that you need to have as a content creator is actually be knowledgeable about social media trends, wedding trends. So if you're not actively creating content on social media, you're not going to be a good content creator. Okay. So I create social media content on my lifestyle page too. So I'm like actually filming myself every day, creating content around my life. So I'm on these apps every single day, understanding like what's trending, what people are talking about. I'm so integrated into the wedding industry, so I know what, is trending in the wedding industry. And so that way I stay ahead of the trends and I know what's coming up, what songs are trending. I understand the algorithm, what works with the algorithm, what doesn't work with the algorithm. So you really have to have a deep knowledge and understanding of social media in order to create content.
Dang, yeah, and you should put in your like Instagram bio, I also work for Meta, so you like know all of thing text,
all the ins and outs and the secrets. I know it is funny when I was working there, people would always hit me up, be like, "Oh, can I come to campus?" Or like, "Can you unhack my Facebook account is hacked?"
Wow, that's insane. So I want to get into also more about the deliverables. So you said you do Dropbox. I've also heard some people say that they do AirDrop. So is that something you do too, like AirDrop and all to the bride's phone right that day, that night?
No, because we're off. We end at so many different times that trying to do an airdrop right in the moment, I just feel like is unrealistic from a logistical standpoint. Half the time brides don't even know where their phone is. So it'd be a nightmare to track down anyway. I choose Dropbox because one, it guarantees the quality of the content because we shoot in 4K. And so Dropbox is going to be the one that keeps the quality and crispness of the quality or of the content. Whereas if you do an iCloud shared album, it's known to decrease the quality of your content. So it's not the best way to go about it. And then if you download the Dropbox album onto your phone, you can select all and download all the content immediately onto your phone. It typically takes like less than an hour to download it all. So I also like it from a client experience. It's very easy to do. So that's why I choose Dropbox personally.
And as far as like those short form videos that you mentioned, roughly how long does it take you to send those to the client?
Yeah, so everything's a 24-hour turnaround except for our highlight reel, which is 72 hours because it's longer and we just want to dedicate more time to it. So we essentially spend the next day editing your content. So what I will do when I get home from the wedding is I sift through the content throughout the day. So like if somebody walked in front of my camera or my phone, I will delete that immediately so that I don't have to do it later. Mm-hmm. And so I will be checking the content throughout the day because it just takes too much time if I do it at the end of the night. Right. So I'll get home and I'll create the bucketed folders of like getting ready, ceremony, cocktail hour, etc. So it's easy to find your content. And I'll upload it and then leave my phone unlocked, charged overnight. So it just uploads all through the night. Okay. So by the morning time, I've already sent them the link to the folder. They can just click on the folder and relive their wedding day within less than 12 hours.
Dang. Wow. So I have a question. So say you're on the wedding day and you're like getting all this cool content. Have you ever had it to where like guests will come up to you and be like, "Oh, can you airdrop me this that clip or whatever right away?" Do you do that, or do you just like, no?
No, I actually haven't had a guest ask me that.
Oh, really?
I have had guests ask me to take photos for them.
Yeah.
Which I feel like is like normal for photographers and videographers too. Like you always get asked to take a photo for the guest.
What about like the wedding party? Have they ever come up to you and be like, "Hey, can you send me that real quick from your phone?"
I haven't, but I always tell people ahead of time, like, "Oh, I'm sending the couple the link, and they can share it with you like after the wedding."
Yeah. Super cool. All right, let's get into another one. So, are there any specific like obstacles you encounter when trying to balance content, wedding content for like maintaining a respectful or obtrusive presence at a wedding day? Like, do you have any obstacles doing that?
Yeah, so I try to be very self-aware and aware of my surroundings so that I know when's the right time to come in and not, right? So I understand how to read the room, and the bride is having a freak out. Maybe it's time for me to step out of the room. This is not a good time for me to be in her face with my iPhone right now, right? So you have to understand what kind of support you're going to be providing the couple that day. Should I be like, rah, rah, like, let's get this going. Let's be your hype crew. Or should I take a step back and like really is now not the time to be filming? I also am not somebody that tends to be in your face with my phone. There are content creators where they do have that style where they're very up close and personal. But I personally like to allow you space to have that moment, and I just capture it. So that's my personal preference and my style of shooting.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned that. So I've heard that content creators need to be like the bride's best friend. Do you feel like that, or like I like how you mentioned sometimes you stand back, sometimes you're in. Do you agree that the content creator does need to be a step more active than the photographer and videographer?
Yes and no. And I think like because you're a planner and I'm also a planner, and a lot of planners will be like, oh, I'm going to be your bridal bestie. I'm going to be your best friend along like the wedding planning journey. And I don't necessarily believe in like the best friend mentality because I think there still needs to be a professional relationship that you have with your couple. Personally, not everybody feels like that. But I want to make sure that we're also still there to provide a service. But I will say we are typically the go-to if a bride needs like boob tape, zip up her dress. She hates her hair. I've had to redone a bride's hair before. The veil, I'm always what?
And this is when you're doing content creator, not
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So we're kind of the default because we're with them all the time. And a lot of times, especially if like photographers or videographers are men, they feel more comfortable with us. Yeah. So the default is that we're kind of like their little sidekick for the day too, because we're with them all day. We're a female. They feel more comfortable with us. I am most often in the room with them when they're changing because they ask for help. They want me to put their shoes on, their veil on. Where are their earrings? Can you hold my bouquet? Like we kind of become like a bridal assistant almost sometimes as a default because they see us in the way of like a best friend, like essentially like your hired bridesmaid. But we're also there to take like social media content for you.
And you guys are getting all the juicy content right there. You get everything.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, throughout your whole journey, it sounds like you've collected a lot of like tips and knowledge along the way. Are there any specific tips that you can share with us or techniques that you've learned for creating visually appealing and engaging social media content?
I will say in content creation, especially because it's focused around social media, you can fall into the trap of wanting to do everything like everybody else. So I think for me, it's all about having a unique brand and how you're going to stand out against the rest. I feel like my brand is professional because I have had a professional working background. And so I like for it to come off professional, elevated, and someone that they can really trust in their content. And I want our content to feel just like calm. Like it's like very visually appealing and calm and pretty. And it just elevates their wedding day. And so I think just having a distinct brand and understanding like who you're really trying to connect with and not listen to what everybody else is doing and what their brand looks like and how they're capturing content. And I think that goes for anybody in the wedding industry, right? It's like, keep doing what you're doing, what like your heart is telling you to do and resonates with you, and people will find you. So I think that's super important, not to feel like you have to copy what everybody else is doing, especially with social media, because you want to go viral or you want your content to blow up or whatever. Find what works for you.
Well, that's a really good point. Like you mentioned, you want it, like the copying thing. I feel like you guys are now like have more of that, trying to stay up to date and trying to be, you know, the next trend or whatever. And I felt like sometimes when I would do photographs, I would always be like that too. Like, oh crap, you know, I want to, this guy's super good. I want to be like, you guys have more of, I feel like, pressure when it comes to viral content, the social, you know, the up to date.
I've had content creators copy my content, like other wedding content creators. I just saw a video the other week that was literally verbatim the exact text that I used for one of my videos with the exact same footage, but like from their wedding. I've had people copy my bio. So that's why I say like it's really important to find your voice, your brand, and who you are and who you want to connect with for their weddings.
Dang, for any couples listening, man, you want to book her because she's a trend center already. People are copying her. That's insane. That's so funny. All right. So another question. How do you stay up to date with, you kind of went over this, but how do you stay up to date with current social media trends and platform algorithms to ensure that your content reaches and resonates with your intended audience?
You have to know what people engage with. That's kind of the bottom line of social media. Like, what are people going to like, comment, share, and save? Those are your like 4 primary things on any social media platform, right? So a lot of times it's surrounding like a lot of like details, inspo, really elegant design, or like a fun design. Things that people are going to kind of like a wow factor. It's either going like evoke emotion. So it's either going to make you mad, make you cry, make you laugh, but it's going to evoke some type of emotion, right? So that's how like you're kind of creating content. And then also educational. So there's different forms of content that do really well on social media that is going to create that engaging content to like, save, comment, and share.
That's awesome. I like that. So yeah. So what were those 3 things again, or 4 things? Like, or what was it?
Like, comment, save, and share.
That's huge. That's huge. That should be for just anyone posting on social media in general.
Yeah. Sounds like
I know. That's why I'm like, more people in the wedding industry really need to tap into wedding content creators because we understand social media. And, you know, I was able to grow my platform really quick, and all my clients come from TikTok and Instagram. You know, we have about 70 weddings already booked for this year. So it's like, you got to get marketing on social media.
You guys are killing it.
70 weddings. Like, do you have a team? Like, how many weddings are you able to do in one weekend?
This weekend I have 2 weddings. The weekend after I have 3 weddings. And my associates, I have associates throughout California, Texas, Colorado, and Utah. Jeez. So sometimes we will have like 9 weddings in a weekend.
My goodness. And do you have to edit all of them for the short videos?
No, my associates capture and edit all the content themselves, but I have an associate playbook. I think it's like 15 pages long or something like that. And it goes through the entire process of like how to shoot under my brand.
Damn. That's what I'm talking. She's a general. You should make like a PDF form that you could that's downloadable for like all vendors on how to get catchy Instagram posts or whatever. You know, that'd be cool. I'll download that to learn.
That's like a little Etsy template or something, like an Etsy resource.
Yeah, that'd be rad. But now let's get into our fun game we like to call This or That. So
okay. Deal.
It's a quick little game where we just say a question. And you just answer what first that comes to your head. All right.
Thinking, just shoot.
All right. So let's see. First one is going to be Jello or pudding.
Pudding.
All right.
Introvert or extrovert?
Extrovert.
Summer vacation or winter holiday?
Summer.
Magic show or comedy night?
Comedy.
Talking in a funny voice or walking in a silly way?
Walking in a silly way.
All right.
Bungee jumping or skydiving?
Skydiving.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Attend a mystery dinner party or a costume ball?
Oh, costume ball.
Oh. What about High School Musical or Glee?
Glee.
Oh.
Bacon or turkey bacon?
Turkey bacon.
Oh.
See the future or change the past?
Oh, see the future.
Whoa.
Camping or glamping?
Glamping.
Morning person or night owl?
Night owl.
Shopping in store or online shopping?
Online, always.
Pancakes or waffles?
Pancakes.
There we go.
Have a photographic memory or be able to forget anything you want?
Photographic memory.
Dark chocolate or milk chocolate?
Milk.
Milk chocolate.
Last one, poor and happy or rich and miserable?
Rich and miserable.
That was a hard one. That was awesome. We like to do that because we like to learn, the funny things and learn a little bit more about the vendors. So that was super cool.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Okay. Yeah. So last and final question we love to ask. If you could choose any superpower to have while working a wedding, what would it be and how would it help you?
Constant hydration.
Let's can use that.
Like a camel hump just full of water.
Yeah. Yes.
That's so funny. That says itself. That's how it'll help you throughout the wedding day. Just hydration. That's one thing. Yeah. We always die on wedding day. Just water.
Yeah. Especially on like really hot days. I'm like, I can't get enough.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Okay, Alejandra. So let our listeners know where they could find you, all your details.
You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Always a Bride Events and on Google, the interwebs at alwaysabride-events.com.
At first, I thought you were going to say, and Netflix. So I was like, what?
No.
On Netflix here. That's so
perfect.
Funny.
We'll put all your contact info in the description below as well. So they can
awesome
there.
Yeah. Thank you again so much for being a part of our show. Yes. We had such a blast and learned so much.
Thank you for having me.
All right. My mind is blown. I just learned so much and it truly opened up my mind to what a content creator is. Not some little person standing there with the phone in your way, just trying to be all weird, but actually there to capture just as great as content as the photo and video team. And also you could be such a great asset to the vendors.
Yeah, I know. I feel like I understand better why wedding day content creators has been such a big thing lately. And I so appreciate Alejandro's personal approach, from start to finish, ensuring first that she understands the couple's vibe, and second to connecting with the photographer and videographer and planner and ensuring all of that is a beautiful collaboration. And lastly, overall, creating such a beautiful experience and content for the couple.
Definitely agree. Such a huge asset. All right, guys. Thanks again for tuning in to the Wedding Vendors Happy Hour. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button so you can hear from some more amazing wedding professionals. Whether you're tuning in on our podcast or watching it on YouTube. Till then, we'll catch you on season 2, episode 4.
Thank you for listening to the